Well, let's start with the running. We're into the final 10 games now. As are Wrexham, no games in hand. We know where we stand. How do you feel about the running as it goes? What do you think you're going to need to do? How are you feeling about it all?
Well, it's crazy, really, because nothing has changed. If we were, for example, like a long way behind and we started to catch up or something like that, you think, okay, we have a different perspective. Or, if we were a long way in front and then we start to slip up and that, you have a different perspective again. But it's kind of just been neck and neck almost from the very beginning. And so nothing feels different. It's crazy. Only the fact that we now realistically can see the end of the season approaching is the only thing that's changed. But that's the same again for Wrexham. So they're in the driving seat now. We know that, and we kind of. I'm sure I've said to you guys many times that when we were top and had games in hand, we had the mentality that we were actually chasing, and that's still the case now. It's a reality now, and we have to continue to try and play very well like we have done for the majority of the season, and to try and win as many games as we possibly can to give us a fighting chance.
I've seen a few people on Twitter say, especially after the 4-0 win in the week, to say, "Oh, that's it. Wrexham are done now. They're gone." But in reality, because you've still got to play them, if you win that game, it only takes one other game for them to slip up, and you can beat them to it. It's still extremely tight, isn't it?
Yeah, there's 4 games until we meet, so we're talking about both teams winning 4 on the bounce, and then we go into that clash, and the gap is still what it is now. So there's still 4 games between now and then. I believe that's right. Anyway, Nick will help me.
Be like 4 or 5, yeah.
So we kind of expect that they're gonna win all their games. We have to try to win all our games, and then if we meet each other and that's the scenario, it's either going to be a much bigger gap or it'll be down to a point or something. And I mean, when you start looking at the potential scenarios, it starts to get difficult, to focus. So we just try and focus on, okay, let's try and make sure we prepare thoroughly, that we don't take anything for granted, that we respect every single game, and the rest will unfold.
Yeah. I mean, last time you lost a game was Dorking, of course, earlier in the season. That's when you set up on that incredible unbeaten run and won 7 in a row and went breaking a record for unbeaten runs. It's going to take that kind of form again, isn't it now? Does it feel like after the last couple of results, right, 10 to go, we now need the absolute best of Notts County between now and the end of the season? Do you feel like it's almost like a resetting point at this point after the last couple of games to go, okay, 10 games to go, we need the best from you for the last few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this moment in time, if you take the first half of the season, and on the halfway point, I think with all games equal, I think we were 1 point at the top of the league, and now so far we have the exact same form, I believe, at this stage of the first half of the season. We have the exact same form. Maybe if we can, reproduce the same results that we produced in the first half, maybe we win the league by 2 points. Who knows? But it's going to take something. It's going to take something enormous to beat Wrexham. We know that, and that we have to be prepared for that. And yes, we have to show ourselves at the best version of ourselves in the remaining 10 games.
What was the mood like from the players this week? I just wonder after drawing last week and then Wrexham then being held in the evening, then seeing them go and win 4-0, is it something the players have talked about? Did they feel a bit disheartened at seeing them kind of put a bit of a gap between you and in the table, or not? I wonder how the mood you're sensing from your players.
It doesn't seem like that. I mean, we have at this point now we're not introducing new training methods to the players, so many of the days are like a routine day, and if we play Saturday to Saturday, the players know what the days look like in between, and everything is scheduled for them. And like I say, at this stage, we've repeated those weeks many, many times now, and everything seems to be normal. And the levels are high in training, the competition is very high in training. The mentality around training is difficult to spot anything different. So hopefully the players are understanding that the only thing that they can attempt to control is their own level of performance, and that is the right approach that we have to have, and that's what I've seen this week so far in training for sure. Absolutely.
You signed, you brought in a few new faces over the last couple of months or so. I just wonder, there was talk last week about maybe a new goalkeeper, or I don't know if you're looking to add any others between now and the end of the season. Does it become riskier at this late stage of the season to be adding too much and changing things? Would you rather kind of keep what you've got between now and the end of the season, or do you think you may be adding one or two?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because there is obviously a natural a feeling that you need to get as many good players in as you possibly can, to make sure that you're covered for every eventuality. But you also have to remember that there is a harmony and a spirit within the group, and the more you add people to it, the more you constrain that. Not for anybody doing anything wrong, but more people. There has to be more connections made, more time spent with each other. There has to be, because we have certain, like every team, by the way, we have a certain way of playing that we like and that we prefer. So then new players have to come in and try to pick up many different bits and pieces of detail and information. Maybe they played for a different team, and many of the instructions were, opposed to what the instructions are in this regime. So all of these things matter, and they're all real, and they have to be considered. So there's always a balance between bringing in a new player that you feel will give you another dimension, potentially create more competition, heighten everybody's levels. There's a fine line between that and bringing in a player that potentially makes it more difficult for you to select the right combination. Maybe some players lose rhythm because they didn't play as much, or many different bits and pieces like this. And so far, I think we're very happy with the additions that we have. Very happy for sure. And we have to take very, very seriously anybody coming in, because every time there is that potential risk. Absolutely, yeah.
That said, are you tempted to bring in? Do you think you'll be bringing in an experienced goalkeeper, for example, with Sam missing out? I know you were happy with Tiernan last week, but are you tempted at this stage to bring in a senior keeper?
Well, I mean, first of all, we look forward to Sam being available again, because we think so much of Sam. His contribution's been incredible, and we don't feel like he's going to be a long time. I think in reflection, we feel quite happy with the performance of Tiernan in the Bromley game, which I think is like a particularly tough game to go into, your first one, on a surface that you're not particularly used to playing on. So I think, in reflection, he's done well. We have Alfie with us, we have Archie with us, I beg your pardon. We have Archie with us, and he's a very, very good goalkeeper as well, been tremendous. Very unfortunate not to be put in, very unfortunate not to be put in by myself, and it was a very tough call, this one. You can imagine was a very, very tough call, and opted to put Tiernan in, and I'm saying we have good options there, and we don't expect to be without Sam available for much, much longer. So we see.
All right. Thank you very much, Luke.
Thank you.
Hi, Luke. So I'll talk quickly about Saturday. So when we spoke after the game, we were on about the second penalty involving Tiernan. Have you had a chance to look back at that, and can you comment on what you thought on the incident?
I mean, what I would say first of all is that it's very difficult to get a really good angle from the gantry that is provided at Bromley. Of course, we're very fortunate. We know that we have a excellent viewpoint from our gantry here, and we also have cameras more around we can pick up different angles. So it's not quite the same as that. It seemed like there's a lot of contact on the ball to change the direction, the path of the ball, but that's not strong enough for me to say either way, whether it's a penalty or not. Obviously, the boy doesn't believe for one moment it's a penalty, but then I suppose we have to say he wouldn't do. Naturally, wouldn't say he thought it was a penalty. I don't think, but yeah, it was a very, very difficult 20 odd minutes. It was very, very challenging, and we didn't cope. We didn't cope well. That's the most important thing. Was we didn't cope well, and we allowed opportunities for the ball to go. The first one we don't. There's no real need to. There's no urgency to try and pull the player. He's got a lot to do. He's on the angle. The ball's not settled. He's probably unlikely to score from that position. So just a little bit of I would say a rush of blood from Badge in the first one, and I think maybe Tiernan is a little bit maybe slow to come off the line. Would be my only criticism there. So I think both of them are probably tight calls, and that's how it went on the day.
You just mentioned then to Dave that it was a tough decision between either picking Archie or Tiernan. What was the one thing that made you put Tiernan in ahead? Was it down to the fact that perhaps he had a little bit more playing experience, being out on loan twice already this season?
Yeah, do you know what? That I'm sure the guys won't mind me sharing, because we try to be really honest with each other, and Archie was really upset, very, very upset, and I owed it to him to explain the reasons. And for me, like, Tiernan has been with us, even when he's been on loan, he's trained with us a lot, and he's done so many repetitions of actions and so many meetings that we go through. The meetings with Sam after the game, and Tiernan will always sit and review every action of Slokes in the game. So really, I felt like it's such a big call. It's a big game. It's a huge moment in the campaign, and so I felt on balance of everything that I went with Tiernan. It was a tough decision, and both guys are very, very good. But yeah, it came down to that. I felt like he had more repetitions under his belt. He's seen more actions. He's been involved for that bit longer, and so yeah, I put him there on the day.
Something that was mentioned after the game on Saturday was Notts' failure to score directly from a corner. I don't think you've managed so this season. Is that something that you're continuing to work on, or is that something that is perhaps an Achilles heel, so to say?
Yeah, we have our own mentality about the game in general, how we want to play the game. I think that if you had an opportunity to trade off, like getting the ball into free play, where we scored 80 something, I don't know, we scored a lot of goals from open play. I think probably the most goals from open play in the whole league. I should say probably considerably more than say if you took the mid-average of the league. I should think we scored considerably more goals from open play. You look at, for example, a very tough game at Solihull was really decided by a very cute corner directly into the box to Matty Palmer was brought down, and we scored. I think we scored 5 goals from corners, but not in the traditional sense of like hit the ball into the big guys and they come towering over and head the ball in the back of the net. In reality, the truth is that you have to put a lot of corners in directly to score one. You do. You have to put a lot of corners in directly to score one. I think if the goalkeeper catches the ball, the action is over. I feel like if we change the angle of approach and we put the ball into the box in a position where the goalkeeper can't claim it comfortably, we have more chance of being able to score from the second phase, third phase. So yeah, I completely understand. There's probably a section of the fans that think, would they just please put the ball in the box and let's see one of the big guys come through and crash through the pack and score. I also would love to see that. I would love to see that as well. And on the balance, after many times of putting the ball into the box, earlier on in the season, I started to really review it a lot and thought, okay, we're actually losing many more options to put the ball in the box by not getting second, third phases of attack. So on the balance, we say more often than not, we try to play a combination to then put the ball in the box.
And then moving away from Saturday, earlier this week it was announced that Macaulay Langstaff received a call up for the England C team. Just how deserving is he of this opportunity?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the boy's really buzzing about that, and he completely deserves that recognition, I believe. And I'm sure when he goes there, everyone is going to see his qualities, and everyone is going to enjoy working with him. And such a great lad as well. So we're delighted for him. It's great recognition of what he's done so far this season.
I was going to ask, does it then sort of provide you with a decision to make in terms of the balance of the season? So in recent years, clubs have sometimes not allowed players to go to play in order to focus on the campaign. Has there been a conversation at all with him about perhaps not letting him go, or is that something that you want to give him that opportunity to go and showcase his talents on the big stage?
Yeah, I think he doesn't miss anything for us, of course. So it's not like he's going to go and play far away and miss a game or two games like some of the other times when you lose players on international duty. So it's it doesn't make a huge difference to us. I think, Macca is so robust that, of course, it goes without saying, I never want Macca to be at risk, but there's certain things that you have to accept, like, he's been called up, it's a huge thing, and so you have to accept that. That's absolutely fine, and so we look forward to seeing how he gets on there and having him back then for the following weekend. Yeah.
And then just finally from me, obviously this weekend sees you take on Dorking. I remember before the Bromley game you mentioned Dorking's pitch, and it was something that your side struggled with. Do you feel as though this weekend it could be a bit of a leveller and perhaps more difficult for them?
Well, I mean, certainly we struggled with the pitch, I think, but let's not take away from the fact that Dorking scored 3 goals against us. They done brilliantly well, and we know that they have a very brave mentality, and they're not gonna come here and not enjoy the experience of playing at Meadow Lane. No one would not enjoy that. So, they're going to come and really, really relish the chance to play here. And I don't think it's going to work in reverse, is what I'm saying. I don't think that we go there and it's an unusual surface for us, and we needed to do better and deal with that. That's, that can't be an excuse. But yes, we did struggle, and that's a disappointment rather than an excuse. We were disappointed with ourselves that we didn't deal with it better, but yeah, it certainly won't happen in reverse. They'll love to come here and play on a beautiful pitch.
Perfect. Thanks for your time, Luke, and I'll speak to you on Saturday.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ollie.
Hi, Luke. How are you? You well?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. All good. Just a few follow-up questions from myself more than anything else. You mentioned you're pretty hopeful that Sam Slocum isn't going to be a mid or a long-term injury and that you're hoping to have him back soon. Do you have a time frame in mind as to how quick he could be back, or is it still uncertain at the moment?
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I will try to give a more accurate. Yeah, when I feel more confident of that. But we're in the stages of putting him under some type of strain, so that we can see how we react to that, and then that will give us a better idea. But the fact that we feel like we're approaching that point where we can start to test more gives me optimism that it's not going to be more longer term. Yeah.
Indeed, fingers crossed. And is there ever any other injury news heading ahead of the game as well, or?
No. We came through very, very well. We're still waiting for Kedwin, of course. We already knew that one, and Toby has more now as the surgery coming, and with Richard Brindley is beginning to be back on the grass, but he's still not close enough for me to give a very clear indicator on that. So other than that, there's nothing new to report. So thankfully everybody came through the last 2 days very, very tough, I think, for the players. Very, very tough. And so they all came through well.
Oh, that's good to hear. And that's a similar question to Kyle as well. But of course, with Wrexham playing as well last night and beating Dagenham 4-0, the amount of games both Notts and Wrexham have played now are identical. Seems like for the first time in forever. So now there's a really clear picture of how the league's looking at. There's no what ifs or buts or what if Wrexham win or draw those games in hand. You've got a clear picture of what's going forward. Does that help you in the final 10 games to give you that motivation and the target to know what you have to do?
Yeah, I suppose we have to say that after each round of games we have a more realistic, up to date, as you say. We have a right up to date idea of where the two teams sit, and I suppose it for a long time we were reluctant to talk about like two teams, but it does seem much more realistic now that there's two teams going for one place, and so we from now on will have albeit. The kick-off time is slightly different, so there's going to be a few hour delay because we kick off later. But other than that, after each round of games, we're going to know where we are.
And a lot's been made about this season being such a unique season, like you say now, with two teams, apparently been emerging as the front runners. I think it's 19 points now, the gap between Notts and Woking in third. As we approach in the final 10 games in the final couple of months, on a personal note, how much are you relishing this opportunity of being in this title race? To be leading one of those teams right at the front, fighting for that top spot. Yeah,
I'm immensely proud of the players and the staff. I really, really am, and I think that's fair of me to say that. And I don't want anybody to get me wrong. We have to try and achieve something more significant than just a good run to now. That would just not. But I'm certainly proud of the efforts made by the players and the staff, because I think that when you look across football, teams that have our points tally after this number of games are most likely to be clear. So I think we have to give enormous credit to Wrexham as well, because what they've done is even more impressive than what we've done to date. So it's really been extraordinary, and it is just totally relentless, and we just continue to go as bravely and as we can forward and see where that takes us.
And you mentioned there, of course, it's such a key word, relentless, and that such high levels of intensity throughout the season, and no doubt in the 10 games to come. How do you deal with that as the head coach?
I think I've said a number of times recently to the players as well, and to various different outlets, that we kind of began from the first moment we met pre-season, that this is what we want to achieve as a group of staff, and we want to convince the players. We looked at it like if we want them to have the same mentality as us, we need to convince them that it's a good one. Otherwise, smart people will reject something that has not thoroughly been thought through and thoroughly well executed. So we try to create intensity, and we try to create an environment where you're judged on your performance, and the performance indicators are quite clear, I hope, and that's what you're going to be held to, and so in that way it doesn't feel like we're ramping up because things are starting to get really, really, really serious. It kind of feels like it's felt from the very outset. So I'm grateful for that, actually. The fact that we've lived in that type of headspace for the whole time, and we don't get too up and have one great performance and then follow it up with 2 or 3 bad ones or whatever. We've been fairly consistent, and that takes a lot of dedication from the players.
And I was going to say, it seems to be something that the players have really bought into as well. I think certainly every player that I've spoken to said, you're someone that they really enjoy working under, both in terms of how you read the game and deal with different situations. So it sounds like it's very much a two-way street. Yeah,
and I think that has to be the case for me personally, there's no right or wrong way, but I think certainly depending on your personality, to try and have a regime that reflects it is healthy, because then you don't have to act it out, if that makes sense. You can try to just sort of be how you are, and then try to make the regime reflect that, and then you have a more chance of being authentic in that way. It has to be. I have to say that I'm very grateful. Every head coach will tell you that there's a time when you arrive and you want to try and convince people, and there might be resistance. And that's completely natural, and you have to then work harder to convince. And I have to say the players have been fantastic in terms of. It's nice to hear that they enjoy the work. I mean, if you looked at them today after training, there wouldn't be one of them that said they enjoyed it, because they ran like ridiculously tough today. After some very high quality, in my opinion, some very high quality football. And then at the end, they run very, very tough, very tough. And they give everything to that, and there's no moaning, there's no shirking or excuses. And I'm really, really grateful for that.
That's good to hear. And just finally from me with Dorking up next, what are you expecting from them from their visit to Meadow Lane?
It's actually quite difficult, because they have quite a number of players. They have a number of players in the squad. The manager's very flamboyant, and so he's scared of nothing at all. So I don't know what their approach will be exactly. I really don't. We need to prepare to have, in the game, be able to analyse what possibly 2 or 3 options that we think are most likely how they may play. And the players, we need to make them aware. And then, of course, there's a big responsibility of the players on the pitch to recognise certain things, and, of course, us on the side to try to help if we have to change, because they're causing us a big problem. But I think what they've done is incredible. The way that they've developed the club through the leagues is really outstanding, and I think they've give a good account of themselves this season. Brilliant. And so we're expecting the unexpected for this game, actually, and we don't know. Like I say, the lineup is hard to predict because so many different players. So we look forward to it, and we're taking it in the same way we take every single game very serious and try to prepare as best we can.